Rian stood at the edge of the silver platform, his hands behind his back. The great city of the Tevran Empire stretched before him. Towering buildings shone under the twin suns, and glowing birds flew across the sky. He had never seen a place so peaceful, so beautiful. He was Earth's ambassador, sent to form a strong alliance with the Tevran. After long years of war in other parts of the galaxy, peace was now the most valuable treasure. Earth needed friends, and the Tevran were powerful allies. A soft chime echoed through the air. And the Tevran guards approached. Their skin was smooth and pale blue. They wore gold armor and moved like water. One of them bowed. "The queen is ready," he said. Rian nodded and followed them. The royal hall of the Tevran was wide and bright. The floor was made of crystal. Tall lights floated near the ceiling. The walls were covered in carvings of stars, beasts, and kings long gone. On the throne sat Queen Velma, her crown thin like silver thread, her eyes calm but sharp. Beside her stood her daughter, Princess Alani. Rian had never seen her before. Alani was young, but there was strength in the way she stood. Her skin was soft teal. Her long hair fell like flowing rivers behind her. Her eyes were deep and kind. She did not wear heavy jewels. Her beauty was not loud. It was quiet and warm. Like a soft breeze before sunrise. Queen Velma raised one hand. "Welcome, Rian of Earth. We honor your visit." Rian bowed. "The honor is mine, Queen Velma. I bring greetings from Earth's council and the hope of peace." The queen smiled. "Let us speak plainly, as old friends should. We value strength and truth, and we see both in your people." Rian stood tall. "Thank you. Earth stands ready to build trust between us." Velma's eyes shifted toward her daughter. "Then let this trust begin with family." Rian paused. The queen looked at him with full honesty. "I offer my daughters hand in union, a marriage between you and Alani. It will bind our two worlds forever. One heart from Earth, one heart from Tevran." The hall went silent. Rian blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Your Majesty, I am honored, but I must refuse." Gasps spread through the room. The guards shifted. Alani looked down, her face unreadable. Queen Velma raised one brow. "You refuse a royal offer." Rian kept his voice calm. "Yes, Your Majesty," with deep respect. The queen's voice was steady. "May I ask why?" Rian looked at Alani. She did not speak. Her eyes held no anger, only confusion. He took a breath. "Because she is too beautiful." The words hung in the air like falling snow. No one moved. Queen Velma looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "You may return to your quarters." Two guards stepped forward. Rian bowed again and walked away without another word. The hall remained silent behind him. As he walked back through the palace, his thoughts were heavy. He had not lied. Alani was beautiful, but not in a simple way. She reminded him of everything he had lost during the wars, all the good things he once knew, things he believed were not meant for him anymore. Back in his guest chamber, he stood near the tall window. Outside, the stars began to rise over the city. He heard music from somewhere far below. Laughter, joy. He could not remember the last time he had laughed without fear. He sat down, eyes on the stars. He wondered if Alani was angry or if she had understood. But it did not matter. He had spoken the truth, and in this strange world of peace, truth still mattered. In the royal hall, Queen Velma sat in silence. She looked at her daughter. Alani spoke softly. "Mother, I am not hurt. I only wish to know what he meant." The queen's voice was calm. "So do I. There is more behind his words. I can feel it." That night, the palace remained quiet. But a question had been planted in the hearts of many. Why would a human turn away from beauty and power? Why speak with such strange sadness? And far beyond the palace walls, eyes watched. From the darkness of space, eyes that did not care for peace. Eyes that saw Earth and Tevran growing closer. And they did not like it. But for now, the stars still shone. And one human sat alone, thinking of a princess too beautiful for a warrior's broken heart. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the tall spires of the Tevran palace. The sky turned soft purple. Gentle wind moved through the crystal trees in the royal garden. Rian stood near the garden fountain, his face calm but his eyes distant. He had slept little. His mind was filled with thoughts he could not chase away. Footsteps echoed behind him. He turned and saw two royal guards. One of them stepped forward. "The queen has requested your presence," the guard said. Rian gave a small nod and followed them once again to the royal hall. This time, the hall felt different. Fewer people stood inside. The queen sat on her throne, her face still calm but serious. Alani stood beside her again. She looked at Rian, not with anger, but with curiosity. Rian stopped and bowed. "Your Majesty," Queen Velma leaned forward. "I have called you here not to judge, but to ask. You gave us an answer that left many silent. So I ask again, why do you not love my daughter?" Rian looked at the queen, then at Alani. She did not look away. He spoke softly. "Because she is too beautiful." There was no shock this time, only silence. Queen Velma narrowed her eyes. "You say it again, without shame. Do you not see this as praise?" Rian shook his head. "It is not about beauty alone. It is about what her beauty reminds me of." Alani stepped forward. "Then explain it, if not for my pride, then at least for truth." Rian looked at her carefully. "When I saw you, I saw something perfect, something untouched by war, by sorrow, by the things I carry inside me. I have seen cities fall. I have watched friends die in space with no name. I have lived with guilt and silence." He paused. "I am not from a world of peace. I came here with a smile, but inside, I'm still a man who has seen too much. When I saw you, Princess, I saw light, but I feared that my shadow would only dim that light." The hall remained still. Alani lowered her eyes, then looked back up. "But how do you know what I am inside? Do you think I have never faced loss?" Rian nodded slowly. "I do not know what you have faced. I only know what I have lost. And I feared I would not be enough to stand beside someone like you." Queen Velma rose from her throne. "So you fear her light instead of honoring it?" Rian answered. "I feared hurting something pure. I feared wanting something I no longer deserve." The queen studied him. "Many speak of courage. Few show it. You speak with open weakness, but I see strength in it. Still, your answer brings confusion. You are a man of war, but you fear love." Rian looked up. "I do not fear love. I fear ruining it." Alani stepped closer. "Do you truly believe I am only light and beauty? That I cannot understand pain?" Rian looked into her eyes. "Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I judged too quickly. But I spoke the truth as I saw it in that moment." Queen Velma lifted her hand. "Then I ask no more. You are free to stay or leave as you wish. But my daughter is not a symbol. She is a living being, and she will find her own answers." Rian bowed once more. "Thank you, Your Majesty." As he turned to leave, Alani stepped beside him. "I will walk with him," she said. The queen nodded. Rian and Alani walked in silence through the garden path. Flowers opened slowly as light touched them. Birds sang above. The air smelled fresh. "I am not angry," Alani said. "But I am not a dream either. I am not a painting made of light. I have seen death. I have seen people broken by power. I have watched friends turn cold after the storms." Rian listened. "You think you're the only one carrying pain," she said. "But you are not. We all carry something. The question is not whether we are broken. The question is whether we still choose to care." They stopped near the fountain. Water flowed gently. Rian spoke. "I never meant to insult you," Alani replied. "And I never wanted to be chosen because of beauty alone." He looked at her, really looked. "I did not expect to feel anything here," he said. "But your words, they brought light in a way I did not fear." She smiled slightly. "Perhaps beauty is not only something to run from, sometimes. It can be a place to rest." They stood in silence. Two souls from different worlds, but not so different inside. High above them, a shadow passed across one of the moons. Something in space moved without light. But no alarms rang yet. No warnings came. For now, all was still. But the heart of one human, once closed by pain, had begun to open. And the heart of one alien princess long seen as perfect, had found value in being seen as real. Rian sat in his quiet guest chamber as soft winds moved the curtains beside the tall window. The sky outside was a deep shade of blue, and the glowing towers of the city shine like stars. Yet his heart remained heavy. He had spoken truth in the Queen's Hall, but truth did not always bring peace. It had only opened wounds, some old, some new. A knock sounded on the door. Before he could answer, the door opened slowly. Princess Alani stepped inside, holding a small tray with 2 cups of tea. Her steps were light, and her expression calm. "I brought something warm," she said. Rian stood. "You didn't have to. I wanted to," she replied, placing the tray on the table near the window. They both sat. For a few moments, neither spoke. The quiet was not cold. It was gentle, like soft rain on stone. Alani looked at him. Back in the garden, you said you feared bringing darkness to light. I want to understand that better. Not as a queen's daughter, just as someone trying to know someone else. Rian wrapped his hands around the warm cup. I was a soldier before. I became a voice for peace. I was sent into places where even the stars were afraid to shine. He stared at the tea. I saw a colony fall after an attack, not by weapons, but by silence. An entire city was left without air. Thousands died, and we arrived too late. I walked through those halls. I still hear the echoes. They did not fade. Alani did not look away. She listened with care. I once trusted someone, Rian continued, a commander. He gave wrong orders to protect his own name. Good people died because I followed him. I carry that weight. He paused, and in all that, I forgot what beauty was. I forgot what joy looked like. So when I saw you, standing in that hall, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't love. It was fear. I feared losing something again. Alani's voice was soft, so your words were not rejection. They were protection. Rian nodded. Yes, I tried to protect you from me. She took a sip of tea and looked outside. You speak of guilt like it is a coat you cannot take off. But you are not the same man now. Rian smiled slightly. I wish I could believe that. You fought to save lives. You still do. My people respect you. Even the queen sees your strength. But you must forgive yourself. Rian looked at her. Have you forgiven yourself? Alani was silent for a moment. I once made a decision that led to harm, she said. The sick village asked for help. I delayed the aid because I feared spreading illness to our city. Many died waiting. She looked at him with clear eyes. I live with that choice. But I also learned from it, and I help now with stronger hands. Rian understood then. She was not just a figure in a royal hall. She had scars too, but she wore them with grace, not shame. You are not what I expected, he said. She smiled. Neither are you. Outside, clouds moved across the moon. The stars remained steady, but far in the upper skies, something cold drifted closer. In a hidden station beyond the reach of royal scanners, a message was sent from a dark vessel. It was brief and sharp. The human is growing close. The alliance may happen. Begin the plan. Inside the palace, Rian and Alani continued their quiet talk. You do not have to love me, Alani said, but I want you to stop fearing me. Stop fearing what you see in me. I am not a dream to break. I am a person who can stand beside another. Rian nodded. Then maybe, for the first time, I can stop running from what is good. She reached across the table and placed her hand gently over his. You don't have to carry everything alone. Rian looked at her hand, then into her eyes. There was peace there, but also strength. Not perfect, real. I'm not sure what comes next, he said. Neither am I, Alani replied. And in that small moment, something began to change. Not a sudden wave, but a quiet shift, like stars moving behind clouds. The past would not disappear, but the future had opened a door, and for once, Rian did not step away. The two of them sat there as the night passed. Outside, the lights of the city glowed like fireflies in the dark. But far above, something unseen moved toward them with purpose. Peace had brought hearts together. But danger was coming, and it did not care for love, guilt, or healing. It only cared about control. The next day, the skies above the Terran capital were calm. The streets were filled with life. People moved through markets, gardens, and floating bridges. Laughter and music echoed through the tall towers. Everything looked peaceful. But in space, just beyond the reach of their sensors, something waited. A dark ship hovered near a frozen moon. Its shape was sharp and black like a blade. No flags, no lights, no signals. It was a Gorlick warship, silent and deadly. Inside the ship, Commander Vrex stood before a screen. His face was hard, with deep lines from battles long past. He stared at a map showing the Terran palace and its shield range. The human grows close to the princess. A voice said behind him, "If the alliance forms, we will lose control in this sector." Vrex turned. That alliance must not happen. Earth and Terran together would make others brave. They would stand against us. Another officer stepped forward. "The Queen is careful. She trusts the human, but slowly. They are not yet united." "Then we strike now," Vrex said. "Before the human earns her heart, we will make the Queen regret opening her gates." He looked at the screen again. "Send the ghost probes. We'll shut down their outer sensors. Then we move in, back on the Terran homeworld." Rion walked through the training yard near the palace. A few guards sparred with long staffs while others practiced hand signals. He had asked for permission to observe their ways. The Queen had agreed. One of the Terran captains approached him. "You were once a soldier." The captain said. Rion nodded. "Still am, when needed." The captain handed him a practice blade. "Then join us." Rion smiled and stepped forward. For a few moments, he moved as he once did, focused, balanced, fast. The Terran warriors watched with surprise and respect. Alani stood near a column, watching quietly. She had heard stories of Earth's fighters, but seeing Rion in motion brought those stories to life. After the training, she walked with him through the quiet halls. "You still carry the skills of war," she said. Rion wiped sweat from his forehead. "Peace does not always last. Skills must remain sharp." Alani looked out a window. "You fear war may come here?" Rion did not answer at once. "I don't trust silence," he said at last. "It can hide danger." At that moment, far above, the first ghost probe slipped into the atmosphere. It was small, dark, and fast, invisible to most systems. It moved across towers and defense stations, releasing small charges that blinded sensors without making a sound. In the palace command room, an operator frowned. "Sir, we've lost signal from Watch Post 9. The chief officer looked up. "Weather? No storm in the area. The feed just stopped. Try a reset." The operator tapped his screen. Nothing came back. In space, the Gorlick ship began to move slowly forward, hidden behind the moon's shadow. Commander Vrex smiled. "They won't see us coming." Back in the palace, Queen Velma met with her advisors. Maps, trade records, and science reports filled the room. One advisor spoke. "Earth's leaders are ready to sign the pact. They only await your final word." Velma nodded. "It will be given soon. But I want to be sure. I want to look into their hearts." Another advisor looked uneasy. "Your Majesty, we've just received a report. Some of our border stations have gone silent." Velma's eyes narrowed. "How many?" "5, across different sectors. All went dark within the hour." "Was it storm activity?" "No storms. No signals. Just silence." The Queen stood, informed the command tower. "Double all scans. No delay." In the guest chamber, Rion sat reading old Terran scrolls when his wrist device buzzed. It was a private alert from his old military channel. He opened it. "Unusual silence in Terran border. Gorlick activity suspected. Stay alert. Will advise." His eyes sharpened. He stood quickly and made his way toward the Queen's chamber. He found Alani on the path. "We need to speak to your mother," he said. She saw the change in his face. "What is it?" He showed her the message. She nodded and walked beside him. Without question. Inside the Queen's war room, Rion shared what he knew. The Queen listened carefully. "We feared something like this," she said. "You confirm it." Rion looked at the star map. "The Gorlaks don't wait long. If they've started, They will strike soon. They know what this alliance means. Velma turned to her officers. Begin shield rise protocols. Prepare defense wings. No panic, but full readiness. Rian stepped forward. I can help command the Outer Watch. I've led in space before. The Queen nodded. You are no longer just a guest. You are part of this now. Alani touched his arm. Be careful. Rian looked at her. I will. As the palace moved into silent alert, high above, the first Gorlick war cruisers entered the system. Their weapons were charged. Their engines were cold with purpose. And Commander Vrex smiled once more. Let the alliance burn before it begins. Warning lights flashed across the Tevern Palace as soft alarms echoed through the city. The people did not panic. They trusted their queen. But inside the high command tower, leaders moved with urgency. Ships were taking off from the hangars. Soldiers were taking positions. The Gorlick attack had not yet begun. But the silence was louder than any war drum. Rian stood in the command room beside Captain Marrows, a Tevern fleet leader. On the large screen before them, stars blinked over. A map of the outer zones? There, Rian said, pointing to a slow-moving shape near the edge of the system. That's not a rock. That's a Gorlick scout. Marrows nodded. And that means their fleet is not far behind. Rian turned to the officers. We need to move now. Their strategy is always the same. Blind sensors, strike fast, then retreat. If they fail. But this time, they'll try to break deeper. Marrows spoke into the comms. Defense wings Alpha and Beta launch now. Set positions around the city and keep shields at full. Outside, silver Tevern ships lit up and flew into the sky like arrows. Their engines glowed blue, forming lines across the horizon. In the palace garden, Alani stood near the fountain, watching the ships rise. She wore a small device in her ear. Connected to the palace updates, her hands were steady, but her heart was full of worry. A voice spoke from behind. You should be inside. She turned. It was her mother. Queen Velma. I know, Alani replied, but I needed to see the sky before it changes. Velma walked beside her. You care deeply for the human. Alani nodded slowly. He reminds me of peace, even though he comes from war. The queen placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. Then let us protect the peace he fights for. High above, the Gorlick fleet began its approach. Dark ships in sharp shapes moved like wolves in a silent hunt. Their weapons powered up. Their shields glowed red. Commander Vrex gave the order. Begin the attack. A sudden burst of fire struck the Tevern Outer Watch Tower. Then another hit followed. Explosions lit up the edge of the sky. The peaceful city below now faced its first battle in years. Rian's voice rose in the command room. Move squads to the western sky. They're targeting our shield generators. Yes, sir, came the reply. He looked at Marrows. I'll join the defense line. I know how the Gorlaks fight. Let me lead from the front. Marrows hesitated, then nodded. Take Ship Vorsa 9. It's ready. Rian ran toward the launch bay. As he strapped into the cockpit, he saw the screen light up with incoming signals. Dozens of enemy ships were approaching. But he was not afraid. His fingers moved across the controls. The ship lifted into the air, joining others in a perfect pattern. The sky, once calm, now danced with light and fire. The battle began. Tevern ships moved like stars in motion. Gorlick ships fought with sharp turns and sudden strikes. Energy blasts lit the sky. Explosions shook the air. Shield walls flashed and dimmed. Inside the palace, Alani joined the healers. She moved quickly from room to room, helping prepare supplies. Injured soldiers were brought in from the field. Some carried burns. Others were shaken by the blasts. One soldier grabbed her hand. Are we losing? Alani held his hand tightly. No, we are standing. That means we're still strong. She moved with care, her face calm, but her heart remained with RIN. In the air. Rian's ship danced through the battle. He fired at a Gorlick fighter, striking it from behind. Another ship tried to corner him, but he twisted through the clouds and dropped behind it, sending a clean shot through its engine. He spoke into the comm. They're focusing on our shield towers. Protect the lower sky. Don't let them break through. More Terran ships joined him. The sky became a storm of motion. Suddenly, a large Gorla cruiser moved toward the city. It was covered in dark armor, with heavy weapons on all sides. Rian saw it on his screen. That's the command ship. If we take it down, the rest will fall back. He pushed his ship forward. The cruiser fired several blasts. One struck a nearby Terran tower. It cracked, sparks flying across the city. Rian kept moving. I'm going in close. Cover me. 3 Terran fighters moved with him. They weaved through the enemy fire. Rian flew under the cruiser's side and released a set of power-breaking charges. The cruiser shook. One of its engines burst into flame. Rian turned quickly and fired again. The second engine exploded. The cruiser began to fall, flames covering its body. A cheer rose through the Terran comms. They're retreating, someone called. The enemy ships turned and began to disappear into the stars. Inside the command room, Meros smiled. We've held the line. Rian's ship landed shortly after. He stepped out, his suit marked with smoke, but his eyes steady. Alani ran to him as he entered the palace gate. She didn't speak. She just wrapped her arms around him. He placed a hand on her back. You're safe, she whispered. So are you? He replied. Queen Velma approached. She looked at them both. You fought not just for us, Rian, she said. You fought for something greater. For peace? Rian nodded. And I'll keep fighting for it. The queen looked at Alani. Then perhaps, she said, this alliance is not built only on paper, but on courage and truth. The stars outside were quiet once more. But something stronger than war had begun to rise: trust, respect, and something even deeper between a human and a princess who both carried light and scars. The sky above the Terran capital was calm again. Smoke from the battle had cleared. Broken towers were being repaired. Ships that once danced through fire now rested in hangars. The people had survived. Their city still stood. Inside the palace, Queen Velma walked through the healing chambers. Soldiers lay on clean beds. Healers moved from one to another with quiet hands. Some warriors were awake, smiling. Others slept, still recovering. The queen nodded to each one. Her face was firm, but kind. Then she stepped into the royal garden. There, under the same tall tree where Alani once stood, she found her daughter and Rian. They sat beside the clear fountain. The water sparkled in the morning light. A gentle breeze moved through the trees. Rian held a folded piece of cloth, his old Earth soldier badge. He looked at it, then at the sky. Velma watched them for a moment before speaking. You protected this world, Rian, even when you could have chosen to leave. You stood for us. Rian stood and bowed. I stood because I believed in what Terran stands for. She stepped closer. And what do you believe now, when the fire has passed and the city rests again? Rian looked at Alani, then at the queen. I believe I was wrong to fear what I saw in your daughter. Velma raised her brow. You once said she was too beautiful. Do you still believe that? Rian took a breath. Yes, but not in the way I first meant it. He turned to Alani. The first time I saw you, I saw someone too far from the world I knew. You reminded me of what I had lost. You were soft light while I had walked through cold nights. I feared you were too perfect. I thought I could only bring pain near you. Alani stepped forward. Her eyes were gentle, but steady. And now, she asked. Rian smiled slightly. Now I see something more. I see your strength. I saw it when you helped the wounded, when you stood by your people, when you looked at me not with fear, but with understanding. He paused. You're still beautiful. But now I know beauty doesn't only mean how someone looks. It also means how they carry pain, how they keep moving forward. That's the kind of beauty that lasts. Queen Velma watched them both in silence. Then she spoke. Words like that are not given easily. They come from a place of truth, and they carry weight. She looked at her daughter. What do you feel, Alani? Alani turned to Rian. I feel seen, not as a princess, not as a symbol, but as a person. She took his hand. And I feel something else. She added, something quiet but strong. I think it may be the beginning of love. Rian looked into her eyes. Then maybe it's the beginning for me too. Vilma stepped forward. If the bond between you is true, it does not need a crown or a throne. Let it grow in its own time. But know this, your unity has already begun something greater. Rian looked at her. The alliance? She nodded. Yes, Tevran and Earth will stand together, not just through words, but through trust built in fire. That evening, the palace opened its gates to the people. Lights filled the streets, music returned. Flags of both Tevran and Earth waved side by side. Rian stood beside Alani at the royal balcony. The stars shone above, and the people cheered. Below, Alani looked at him. Do you miss Earth? Sometimes, Rian said. But when I'm here, I feel like I've found something I didn't know I needed. She smiled. And when you look at me now, what do you see? Rian didn't. Pause. I see someone brave, someone real, someone I want to walk beside, not because I have to, but because I choose to. She placed her hand in his. And I choose you. The queen watched from a distance. Her eyes were warm. She had asked a question once. Why did the human not love her daughter? Now, she understood the answer had never been simple. The human did not reject her daughter. He only feared that something so bright might disappear from his broken hands. But now, he no longer feared Dot, and the princess no longer waited Dot together. They had crossed the space between sadness and healing, between duty and choice. Dot in the stars. Above, the Gorlick ships fled into darkness. They had lost not just a battle, but the chance to divide to strong worlds. And in the heart of the royal city, under soft light, a new hope began. Not forced. Not perfect, but true. The Tevran palace stood proud beneath the soft light of 2 moons. The stars above twinkled gently, and a calm wind moved through the tall crystal trees. The city had returned to peace. Yet something inside its heart had changed. Rian stood on a quiet balcony, looking out at the sleeping capital. His hands rested on the railing. His eyes followed the lights from the towers and streets. He could still hear the music from earlier in the evening, though it was now fading with the night. Footsteps approached from behind. Alani joined him, wearing a long robe made of soft Tevran silk. She stood beside him without speaking. Her presence brought comfort. Can't sleep? She asked. Rian shook his head. No, not after all that's happened. She leaned on the railing. It feels like something has ended. Rian nodded, and something else has started. They both stood in silence, watching the stars. Then Alani turned to him. The queen spoke to me earlier. She said the council has agreed to sign the full alliance treaty with Earth tomorrow. It becomes official. That's good news, Rian said. She also asked what I wished to do next. Alani added. He looked at her. And what did you say? I told her I don't want to live by duty alone. I want to choose the path I walk. Rian smiled. You always had that strength. Even when others only saw beauty, I saw more. She smiled back. And what about you, Rian? Will you return to Earth now that your mission is complete? He looked down for a moment, then lifted his eyes again. I came here as a soldier turned ambassador, but I'm not leaving as either. I've found something here that feels different. It feels like home. Her voice was gentle. Then stay. Not for the alliance, not for the queen, but for yourself, Rian. Step closer. And for you? Alani's voice was firm but soft. Only if it is your heart's wish. He reached out and took her hand. It is. That morning, the Great Hall was filled with leaders from both Earth and Tevran. Flags hung on both sides of the walls. The queen stood in front, holding the alliance scroll. She read the words clearly. This is not a bond of power. It is a bond of purpose. Earth and Tevran will share peace, knowledge, and defense. We will rise together, not above each other, but beside. The scroll was signed by both sides. A long cheer filled the hall. Peace had been sealed. Outside, the people celebrated again. Markets opened. Artists painted banners. Musicians played. Along the streets, children wore robes of 2 colors, blue for Tevran, green for Earth. Alani and Rian walked among the crowd. There were no guards beside them, no formal dress. Just 2 people walking side by side. They passed a merchant who called out to them, Princess, will the humans stay? Alani smiled. He will. Another voice called. Then build something new. Something all of us can believe in. Rian turned to Alani. What if we start a school? A school? She asked. Yes, he said. A place where young ones from both Earth and Tevran learn side by side. Not just science or history, but values, trust, and respect. Alani's eyes lit up. A place where peace begins young. I like that. The idea spread quickly. Builders offered land. Teachers came forward. The Queen approved it with pride. Months passed. The first Earth Tevran Learning Center opened near the city gardens. Children from both worlds filled the classrooms. Some had different skin, different eyes, different voices, but they laughed together. Rian taught peace history. Alani taught culture and art. Together, they guided young minds to understand not just knowledge, but kindness. In time, others followed. More centers were built across other planets. The message was clear: peace can grow if planted early. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Rian and Alani sat under the same old tree in the royal garden. The fountain still sang its soft tune beside them. Alani looked at him. Do you remember what you said when you first met me? Rian laughed softly. I said you were too beautiful. And now, he touched her hand gently. Now I say you are just right. Strong enough to carry your people, kind enough to heal others, and real enough to walk beside someone like me. She smiled. That's the kind of beauty I want to be. He leaned closer. And that's the kind I finally understand. Above them, the stars watched quietly. The Queen's question had once seemed simple: why don't you love my daughter? But love, like peace, takes time to grow. It does not arrive with orders or titles. It comes through shared pain, shared hope, and the choice to stay when one could walk away. Rian had stayed, and in doing so, he had found something stronger than duty. He had found love, not just in the heart of a princess, but in the soul of a world that had opened its arms to him. And in that union, Earth and Tevran moved forward not as strangers, but as family.